So next on our agenda is to tell you what this radicalism then, how this radicalism played out when the matter came before the party, that Fiifi Kwetey, the former Minister for Agriculture, Alan Chematin, the former Minister for Trade, have left their positions. They have resigned to the president because they have indicated that they need to campaign to win the NPP flag bearership towards the next election, and they cannot continue to be ministers and do that. It's untenable as the NPP has established. So they are leaving. Therefore, there's vacancy in these two ministries. Charles Edouboahim has been heavily brought down and has had to be fired by the president on what the court now calls investigative terrorism. That's what the High Court said. IGN says. The High Court said investigative terrorism. That's how Charles Edouboahim was brought down. So the Minister of State and the Ministry of Finance, vacancy. The Agriculture Minister, vacancy. And then the Trade Minister, also vacancy. President is replacing them. So the matter comes up for conversation. These radicals have taken office. And fortunately, as I heard somebody say on Good Morning Ghana the other day, fortunately, both of them, Johnson Asiedu-Nkatia and Fiifi Kwetey, are members of parliament. And therefore, you would have expected that being members of parliament, they thoroughly understand what happens on the floor of the House in terms of the give and take. Just to digress, I listened to Dr. Bafo Adjumandua on PM Express on Joy. He made an excellent point. And he said, as far as he's concerned, he's not surprised that anybody who understands parliament will know how the game works. So Fiifi Kwetey and Asiedu-Nkatia were expected to understand. But because of their radicalism, this was their first action towards galvanizing the NDC to take a position against the government in the political fight towards 2024. This was the first decision they made. And this decision will only be made by a radical who decides that, look, our people are going to vote no on this matter. We are going to build up the economic hardship and tell Ghanaians that Akufo-Addo is still adding to his government. In fact, he's not, but they say he's still adding to his government, and we think that his ministers are too many. We're going to vote so that there's no agric minister, there's no trade minister. Whatever the government wants to do, they can merge agric and something is up to them. That's the position they took. They thought that they needed an early indication to strengthen their leadership. That's what they did. So let's read the statement. It's as follows. The NDC has long expressed concern over the very large size of the current government and shares the views of most Ghanaians, including civil society, that it must be reduced, bearing in mind the current massive economic mess that the country has been plunged into by the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia government. Despite numerous appeals, President Akufo-Addo has quite characteristically remained adamant and given an tone deaf. Remain adamant. The leadership of the NDC has, against this backdrop, directed the minority caucus in Parliament not to approve any of the new ministerial nominees and to further push for a reduction in the size of the government with a view to reducing the needless drain on scarce public resources. In this moment of haircuts, the most important thing the government can do is to do a governmental haircut. Our directive to the minority in Parliament, we believe strongly, aligns with the genuine sentiments of most Ghanaians, I'm sure he wants to say. Enough is enough, the statement's complete, and Fiifi Kwetey. Now, a new leadership has come into a big political party like the NDC. New leadership, yeah? Some of these members of Parliament, they are senior to Fiifi Kwetey, but forget about that. These members of Parliament have won their primaries. You see, so when the party, whether you're NDC or NPP, when you're giving instructions to members of Parliament, I think sometimes the way they talk about the parliamentarians is as if they've handpicked them and they are kids and they've handpicked them and they've put them in the Parliament. No. You as NPP or NDC, you open nominations. The guy went, picked the nomination form and won the primaries. The party didn't win the primaries for anyone. It is the members of Parliament who won the primaries. And some of them won by 54,000 in the main election. Some of the NDC primaries are very difficult. Right now, see what's happening in Keta. All the nice young people are fighting for the Keta seat. I'm supporting Kojo Jones. Another person supporting somebody. This one supporting this. And because in Keta, when you win the primaries, you are a member of Parliament. When the MPP primaries come up in Ashanti region, it's going to be cutting off a head. Look at how Sam George suffered in Ningo Prapram just to unseat E.T. Mensah. Now, they go through all of that process and then come to Parliament. They have won your party's nomination. They won it. The party didn't hand it to them. In fact, they paid to the party their nomination fees, campaigned with the people, and won the nomination from the people. And then they proceed to be your candidate on the election. They look after the votes in their constituency. They make sure they win. They make sure President Mahama garners enough votes. They make sure Nana Akufo-Addo garners enough votes. And then they are elected, and they've also delivered the seat for the president, or sometimes they are not able to do so in the skirt and blouse situation that we have seen. Then they come to parliament. And then you write a letter directing them publicly. You are telling all of us need not to know this. The party whip has been working in England for 600 years. We don't get to know it. In fact, when we start learning about party whip, we were wondering how it works because you don't hear it. And when I started covering Parliament, and that's how the Honorable Speaker Adom-Otchere became my friend, because I wanted to understand how the whip thing works. Because they all come to Parliament, they all sit down, they all listen to the Speaker, they all go. Then they say there's something called whip. So as a parliamentary reporter, then I was looking at it. So now if you put me at the press gallery and there's a debate, I'll be able to tell the guy that the whip is directing them. They do it secretly. The fundamental ethos of parliamentary whip is secret. It's not public. Who told them that it is public? Where did they learn it from? It's not public at Westminster. It's not public at the Capitol. It's not public in the Knesset. Who told them that cracking the whip is a public matter? That you issue it's just the wisdom of the Lord has eluded some people. Otherwise, why would you are cracking the whip in public? Who does that? Where did they learn it from? That cracking the parliamentary, it happens in public. At Westminster, you don't even get to know who the chief whip is. It's these days that you don't get to know who the chief whip is. Deputies, there was a lady called Comfort Owusu. I don't know whether she's still around. She was member of parliament for Infantiman, way back in parliament. She's an NDC member of parliament. And then I used to see her all the time going into Adom-Otchere's office, tall, elegant woman. I used to see her going to Adom-Otchere's office all the time. She doesn't say much on the floor of parliament. So one day I asked an NDC MP, I think it was J.H. Osuechamp, I said, who is this lady? He said, it's Comfortable. So I said, but why is she always in Adom-Otchere? He said, she's the deputy whip. I said, oh, there is deputy to the whip? Because the whole whip thing is shrouded in secrecy. Nobody whips publicly. Because you are dealing with adults who know what they are about. You don't come and write a public statement and say, I have directed all. And no. You do it in the whip system. A message goes and says, Charlie, you guys, this is what we are all doing. Please, let's come together. At this stage, the nation is looking at us. We need to show that we're an alternative to the NPP. Maybe some of them will come and influence you with their talking, whatever influence, however they try to influence you with conversation, with nice jokes. Listen. And you can laugh at it. But let's stay resolute and get this thing done. Nobody should hear. Nobody. And then when you have won, you can come and say that I express gratitude to the NDC caucus in Parliament. We had a meeting with them on 23rd. We appealed to them and they have obeyed the party's instructions. We thank them. And we will be hearing it for the first time that they had a meeting and this. That's how caucus works, so viewers. From what I know, caucus is not this. You write a letter, send it to Joy FM, send it to City, send one to Metro TV, send it to Atinka. What if you could say the King Kong has arrived? I have directed NDC MP to vote this way. Who told you that's how it works? If you do that, this is what you will get. Because you are demonstrating a misapprehension of the parliamentary process that has birthed you. The parliamentary process that begat you, you are not understanding it. Why? Because he's radical. He's radical. Very, very radical. So he doesn't want to engage. He decides and he's going. Chairman radical, General Secretary radical. Okay, we move on. So that's really what happened. It is the radicalness of our people that then brought this letter, which itself was the first point of defeat. Because that's not how the whip system works. Now, we are making these clarifications because we want our democracy to work well. It doesn't matter about NDC or MPP. We want MPP to work well and NDC to work well. That's not how the whip system works. So that's the first point of the mistake. All right. Now, the next level is the press conference by Ato Forson. Now, after they brought this, the MPP were concerned. So I'm sure they also began their maneuvering. And their maneuvering was such that people began to sense that the MPP may be running away from the vote because they are not sure that their own people will elect their own ministers, because they have 137, NPP have 136. If everything is going according to plan, they should be able to win every vote by one. But the rumors were that they were concerned, having been beaten on 7 January 2021, that this may go against them. So that those rumors were rife. In the circumstances, the NDC buoyed out with a lot of confidence. Here is Ato Forson speaking on Friday, insisting that they are going to have a secret ballot and it's going to be boomerang before the eyes of the NPP. Let's see Ato Forson speaking at the press conference.
We, the NDC Minority Caucus, we are prepared and ready to cast our vote for the people of Ghana. We stand ready as we speak, and we are ready to vote now. Unfortunately, the NPP seems panicking. They are afraid of their own shadows, and they are trying to run away from the vote. We insist on secret balloting, and we will vote accordingly. We are optimistic because we strongly believe the NDC Minority Caucus will not betray the stance of the party and the stance that the people of Ghana have come together to ask us to actually implement. So we are urging our colleagues on the majority side to come to the chamber now so that we can start the voting. We want the voting today and not any other day. It should be done today, Friday, 24th of March 2023, and not any other day. We want to move on, and I believe that the people of Ghana will get the decision that is required. We stand with the people of Ghana, and I believe the people of Ghana stand with us. Thank you very much. We are ready with all the 136 NDC members of Parliament, and we'll do just that.
And I've put this here because in the video that you just saw, my friend Okudzeto Ablakwa was in there and he was very excited. Now, this also demonstrates that the guy who spoke is lacking political legitimacy. So, if you study political science, there are different forms of legitimacy. So there's election legitimacy, did you win the election? There's legal legitimacy. Is your government protected by the law? That's what the soldiers always suffer. And so the military people always write what we call an establishment proclamation, setting up the SMC, the PNDC, the AFRC, that's how they call it, to give them legal legitimacy of sorts. Because the government that is right now in place by Nana Akufo-Addo, its source of legal legitimacy comes from the 1992 Constitution. If a military man comes and overthrows the Constitution, he doesn't have Constitution to back him, so he sets out an establishment proclamation. So that's legal legitimacy. There's something called political legitimacy. Political legitimacy is a concept of the people that you are ruling accepting in their minds and hearts that you are their leader. That's political legitimacy. We argue that sometimes monarchies suffer that and all that because they don't get popularly elected. But political legitimacy is a big story. Now, the guy who spoke is Ato Forson, the honorable leader of the minority, has demonstrated that he lacks political legitimacy within the group. Because if he did, the minds and hearts of his people will be with him. The way he spoke with confidence, anyone will suggest that he knows what he was talking about. The results show that he doesn't know what he was talking about. And I'm not sure how he's going to set out to repair this damage if this is the way things are going.